Morning, mate. How's it going?
Morning. Good, good, good. Nice Sunday. It's quite bright and sunny outside in Sydney, though it's a bit chilly. I don't know why. It's because of the overnight rains, I guess. But it's quite nice. It's how's it in Melbourne?
Melbourne is just usual Melbourne. So it's going to be thunderstorms today. Yesterday it was nice and sunny, around 20 degrees.
Oh,
So today is totally opposite. So Shri, this channel is called ANZ Tech Talks. It's not just focused on technology, but it's more to understand, for example, share your journey in terms of how we got, you or other individuals or myself, how we got
oh,
where we are and what we learned from our journey and what can we share with others. Um, Also, you know, technology strategy piece as well. Purely just talk about technology too. So now and then I just post things here and there on LinkedIn and social media on pure tech. Uh,
mhm.
on again ANZ Tech Talks channel as well. So it's anything and everything related to technology, people, process, and technology related to technology.
Yeah,
So.
wonderful.
So today I was thinking that, let's talk a bit about Shri and then talk a bit about AI, artificial intelligence. So how does that sound?
That sounds good to me. I'm looking to learn a lot from you. You're the guru.
So Shri, let's start with your journey, you know. Um,
You
so
are such
tell
a
me a bit about Shri because obviously I know a bit more about Free, but then, we want to share with the world, that journey, how you got to where you are today, any lessons you learned. And I may actually ask you a question in between.
It's an interesting journey. I have been in the industry for 24 years right now. This is the 24th year. I started exactly when Y2K got over. It was around
Mm,
March 2000 when I got in my first role ever. And how I got into it was an interesting affair. So I was doing my master's in physics. I was specializing in quantum mechanics in India. India was at that time where it was booming and you had a lot of people traveling to solve all these Y2K problems and
yeah.
dot-com was emerging, right? The internet was catching on. It was a pivotal point for me. I had a choice between going for my PhD in one of the institutes or um, I would say the pivot happened at a school. I was at a school event. Prior to that, my exposure to internet was very limited. Just the computers and stuff, right, at school and stuff. So my exposure to computers started in 1993 when I started, and then I saw the first XT80 machines. But I never really experienced using internet till 1999, when we had like the first broadbands from BSNL, and till then it was all dial-up modems and all that, right? You could hear
Yeah,
that
that's right.
ring ears all night. I used to have a friend who had a browsing center. So I used to go there, spend the whole day. We were just helping customers get into their machines, logging in and stuff. So that used to be my evening job after 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Get back from school, from college, take the guys or help him with this browsing setup. There used to be so many kiosks there, right? So there was a kiosk in Chennai, and it just got me hooked. And I realized that probably at this time it may not be wise to make a traditional decision. I did get out of my masters with very high scores. I was a uni ranker, but I said this is something different. And
Mm,
I looked back at my motivation and I said, okay, I wanted to travel. I wanted to see the world outside of India. And
yeah.
here was a classic opportunity for me. Something told me I should grab to that opportunity. And I never look back from that. So I joined one of the institutes, local institutes, because I was doing my master's. There was no way to experience computers. The only exposure to computers in my master's degree was the assembler language because we were just pushing an 8086 and 80 I don't remember the other one. So there were a few
Yeah, that's right.
small parts and units
Microcontroller.
that we exactly. So we used to experiment with
At
them, push pop
Atmel
and all that, right? So
Atmel 8086. Yes. And I think the
exactly.
other
So we
one
played.
was PIC. I think it was a Motorola one.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
at least in my school days, I was I was working on proper computers, the 80s, Windows and all that, right? And here in my master's degree, it was the other way. Had gone back to assembler. I said, okay, no, I need to get in something. This is very exciting, right? So I joined one of the courses, and luckily, so around year 2000, I joined my first company. It was a product company. Ramco's ERP product company. So I
Right.
joined there first, did product development, learned the fundamentals of supply chain in an ERP company, built some of the core product modules. I used to be very good at what is called as disposition planning, which is basically managing the manufacturing supply chain, right? Basically, how does it work? How does manufacturing work with your sales? How do you look at demand? How do you use your supply in terms of logistics? How do you plan these together? I learned the fundamentals of that because I used to go into the code, the database, the logic, and the because we had to fix a lot of the product, enhance it for customers.
Yeah.
That was my first exposure to products. But what I was really interested is I had an opportunity to go and fix one of the problems that a customer's place when I was implementing. So we were building the products, but they used to send us on customer site visits, and I had happened to visit. I realized sitting in the back office building products was not for me. I had to go and see how it's implemented at a customer site.
Yeah.
So in 2002, I happened to write the entrance exam for Infosys. They used to have an entrance exam at the time. So
Yes. Yes, I remember.
um,
Yes.
I did three overnighters at my office, studied Shakuntala Devi, went and wrote that exam. I cleared it. I remember. So that helped. Joined Infosys in 2002. So the interesting thing was Infosys. Continued my ERP journey. I was working with Oracle ERP, doing some HR payroll implementation, which was another nightmare actually. But over a period of time, I moved into middleware integrations. I was started working on TIPCO and a couple of other products. That's where my travel started, and it was an interesting journey. I traveled to Germany, US as my first travel. A lot of funny instances, but it also
Germany, yeah?
started.
Did you say Germany?
My first visit was to Germany. I went to
How was
Herzegovina.
it in terms of language? I can communicating with them, and I understand that the English is not that widely spoken. Is it widely spoken within the corporate world?
It was. It was.
Okay.
We never had issues with folks. I used to work at Adidas there, and in Herzegovina, which is their headquarters. It's a small town near Erlangen. So interestingly, you will see Adidas at one part of the town. So they had the main office right at the town center, and the other end was Puma. So they were brothers who had their businesses in the same town.
Right.
So I have been to both places, and I used to work at Adidas there, and we were implementing a TIPCO solution, and it was fun, really fun. You get what do you ask for your first German trip, first trip ever, right? And I was getting shoes at 80% discounts. I used to wear one of those coolest, the jean material. They used to have a shoe made of jean material. I'll never forget. That's the coolest shoe I've ever worn. It used to be like a
Nice.
slip-on. When I came back to India after 3.5 months, I remember getting around 20 pairs of shoes for all my cousins and all that. So,
Nice, nice. That's fun.
it was fun. Germany, and then sorry, it carried on. So Infosys, I started, and while I was at Infosys, I traveled first to Australia. They had then acquired a company called Expert Systems. That was their entry into Australia at the time, and in
Right.
2002, if I'm not wrong, 2003. And I was part of one of those early bandwagons who came and worked at Telstra, trying to fix one of the. So that was my first exposure to telco as well in 2003 in ADSL. I remember looking at workflows on TIPCO and all that. So long, long back.
Mm.
But one thing led to the other. I had an offer from Wipro to start a practice. So I started working on a small practice in SAP space because SAP NetWeaver was being introduced.
Yes.
And they wanted people who had good, strong integration background, and they invited me over. And I worked with one of the best people I've ever worked. His name is Karthik. That guy is he used to still till recently work in Amazon and the AI in US. So I had the opportunity of seeing a practice grown. I will take a while to explain my journey.
Yeah.
So saw a practice being started from grounds up into becoming a business. That was my first
Right.
exposure, seeing things being bootstrapped, creating first getting exposure to a technology, creating offerings, creating services, and then going and pitching these services. So I was one of the guys who built the services and offerings in the backend as part of the
Mm.
pre-sales section. And that was my first exposure to building a competency in the practice. We used to train people, typical services arm, right?
Startup.
So we built all that.
And the startup mindset, I guess.
Oh, yes, because you
I
know,
have a
like,
que I have a
yeah,
question on that.
yeah,
So I was talking to one of my friends who built a startup, and I once wanted to build a product as well. So I was talking to him about whether I should build the product first and then go and sell it, or whether I sell it first and then go build it. And
I
so,
was
what
about
was
to,
your
I was
experience
about to,
like?
I was about to get to that. So we did the traditional first. If you have an organization like Infosys backing you up, where you have, you are able to sit on a bench and do all this.
Yeah,
Till somebody, the management gets wind of a set of geeks sitting there without getting billability done, building stuff, building cool stuff, having fun, it's all right. But a startup mentality is quite different, right? I learned that in my second stint. So I'll continue with my journey. I will come to
mm,
it. So at Wipro, I did two stints. So that was the first stint at Wipro. I went out after 5 years, did a short time building similar things at Entity Data in India.
yeah,
Then came back, right? Because the senior VP at Entity, he came back to Wipro. He took me back and said, I want you to come and do this. So this time it was around mobility and HANA because those were the new cool things in SAP.
right,
So he said, I want you to come back. And so we set up a small innovation center. We started building this. But this is where your point comes, right? The COO is currently at Google. So the COO at Wipro, he once came and saw the innovation center. We had a labs in Bangalore in EC4. They used to call it EC4. So that's where we had the lab. He looked at the lab. He said, "You guys build these stuff. When are you going to sell them?" Right? That was the first ask.
yeah,
And he put me on the spot saying, "Next time you guys start building it, I want you to go and sell it." And there was a complete silence in the room. Nobody stepped up to say yes. And that was interesting. He looked at me and said, "You build this mobility offering. I want you to start selling it." And I had no clue. I'm a typical engineer guy, right? Geek. I can build teams, build solutions, but I had no idea what it means to sell. So he turns around to the business finance manager who's standing next to her and says, I need to see this guy on a plane every quarter. I need to know how many trips he has made to the customer. That was his metric, right? So that was
yeah,
a metric on me. It was simple. I am put on a spot, I'm on the fire. But it created a germ in my mind saying, okay, here is something I have to do
mm,
differently. Let me go learn about it. Overnight, I sat with one of the guys who at least had some idea of doing pre-sales, right? So I had to go and sit with him and say, okay, what do I do? I have to create a pitch. So my first experience preparing presentations started there. And the germ that CEO set in my mind is first commit to the customer what you're going to do. Okay.
yeah,
Build it. Build it to a certain MVP. His point was build an MVP, go sell it first,
yeah,
okay, and then you start improving, retrain, because you can never get a final product. You're not Steve Jobs. You guys are not Steve Jobs. You cannot get that first perfect product. Even iPhone 1 was not the first product, right? The first
yeah,
perfect product. It still is evolving. Okay. His point was build an MVP, go sell it, make sure you're able to get the feedback from the customer, reiterate. So don't wait on selling. It has to be part and parcel of your product building exercise. It can never be waiting for the final outcome.
yeah,
A great solution, right? So he set that mindset. I had to prepare pitches. So as we were even germinating the product idea or the innovation idea, we just started preparing pitches and creating the content. And
yeah,
I learned how to create that pitch. And you would see me from 2018 2011 to 2014, 15, where I moved to Australia. I would be there at every event. Every time I went to US, I would have to go on a journey visiting all the customers. So basically, we would create a plan
Yeah.
saying, okay, pick all the verticals, pick all the customers where we don't have a presence. So pick all the large customers, medium size. So we did a proper product segmentation.
Yeah.
Go to smart plans, figure out where are the gaps, where do we want to enter new geographies. I did that as part of the planning exercise. It was a very interesting experience.
Yeah.
I had an early peek into the sales world. That fear of how do I sell, right?
Yeah.
What do I sell goes away because one of the things that CEO also said is, I don't need a sales guy to go and sell a software product. You guys
Mm.
have built it, you know it in and out.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to pitch your product to a customer and
Right.
explain how it solves a problem.
Mm.
And
Mm.
you can do it better than a sales guy. And
Yeah.
that's what brought me to Australia, by the way.
Right.
I did the go to market for those products. I came to
Yeah.
Australia, and that's when I met our friend Jonathan.
There you go.
Yeah, so
The
that's
bridge
it's the
between
long
two of us
story.
as well. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So I moved to Australia in 2014, 2015. I was part of the go-to-market agent. So I said at some point I wanted to be on ground helping the sales guys locally. It was a very small market for us at this time. Nobody gave a damn. I remember at Wipro about Australia at the time. But I came here. Did a small exercise. We started for the first 6 months. It was a bit of a struggle. I did delivery. I helped. I went to New Zealand. I was working for one of the customers where Jonathan was, and then from there on, we built our friendship. And he said, "Come on board. I need an EA who needs to do this. I don't need the vendor to do it. I need you to sit with me and do this." I kind of started that journey of being a full-time EA with a customer, and that set off my journey over the last 10 years. So, really.
Yeah.
So
Right.
my core technology strengths all come from the SAP middleware, that sort of a world.
Yeah.
But it's been an interesting journey because every customer is quite different. Yeah.
That sounds
Sorry,
good.
it was too long.
No, no, no. I think we all need to know. So, no, that's great. The couple of points you mentioned. So, I think because I want this video to be, you know, there for the young generation as well. I'm not sure if they know what Y2K was. So, if you can maybe just, tell us a little bit about that, maybe in one sentence, if you don't mind, like, short and sweet, and that'll give them some sort of idea about the Y2K situation you mentioned. And I
Yeah.
recall back then, if I convert my Indian salary, because I started my career like full-time working after my graduation, that was around 2002.
Mm,
I worked on small gigs before that, maybe started my own business before that in parallel while I was studying.
mm,
But the full-time role I started in 2002. And the Y2K situation still had its impact. And I
mm,
remember I started my first job on 7,000 rupees. That's probably around, 120, $130 a
mm,
month. Um, yeah, so it was bad, even after 2 years of the Y2K. So, yeah, so if you can, that's one. And then the second question I have is around the startup. So, like, building that practice from ground up. And when you went out to sell, how long it took you to crack the first deal?
ah,
Yeah.
okay.
So those are the two
That's
questions.
let's start with the first one. Y2K was a simple problem of people not thinking through their system designs to think about what's the possibility of having a system scalable for the longest time. So the simple problem was um, nobody expected that 0 0 could be a problem. When you
Mm.
hit 2K, you did not think of years in 4 digits. You thought about it in 2 digits because
Two
that's what we
digits.
do in
Yeah.
India or anywhere else. That was surprising for me. Say 0 0 could mean 3,000 or 4,000. It could be 0 0 0 0 as well, right? So it
Right.
was.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
the fear was it would crash. All the software that was built in the old COBOL, JCS, and all that. So the old mainframe systems, they were all primarily mainframes, IBM mainframes. They were all written with two-digit years in mind, and that essentially was the problem. So we had a whole army of people who had no clue what computers were asked to just train on go and fix all those databases to change probably the meta model. That's what they would have done, and
Yeah.
change make sure the date fields were all years in four digits
Correct.
rather than
Yeah.
that was a simple problem to solve, right? So,
And now it's 4 digits. Do you think why 10K will cause a problem? Not that, not that we may see it, but I hope that it's scalable. Yes, no, a good point. Thank you, Shireen.
if we get to 5K, looking at what's happening around the world, that will be a surprise. All
Good.
right. Let's see. Uh, to the second point on cracking the deal, it was interesting because the first, see, you don't face that pressure in a large services organization to crack that first deal because
Mm.
what happens is you would anyway be trying to push a technology as an edge solution as part of a larger deal. Okay. The way you need to look at it from two different pictures, right? One is I have a whole gamut of services in which I'm pushing a service or a solution as part of the offering. That's probably easier to solve, right?
Mm.
Because it's like all the big product companies packaging licenses. You will have a whole host of not needed ones which get packaged because, with the hope that the customer will start using that license and he can be charged for it, right? Someday.
Yeah,
It's very similar. So basically, you would have a number of back-end deals in which a small piece of the solution, because anyway, the license would be available with the vendor
yeah,
because
yeah,
they're
got it.
building a solution out of the product. Those were the easier ones to crack, and I don't believe we had any challenge with that. It's actually going and taking that solution as the entry point into a customer, which was the
Into
most
that
challenging.
was
And
the
I
challenge.
think it took me 4 months to get that sort of a deal because earning logos was very difficult. And
Mm.
if you are able to take that first solution, I remember I used to prepare the pitch. I used to get that feedback from all the sales guys I used to, because the sales guys never had any understanding of the product. They would just take me to a vendor because all they had was a connect at the customer
Yes,
side.
correct.
They'll say, here is Shri, he will do his thing, and then he would do the summarizing and
Yeah,
the pitch and say, okay, what do we do next now? I used to wonder why I'm not doing that. So the feedback I got from one of the guys is, you do all the pitch, you have to do a closing. Even today, I have that as an issue. I think I forget that I have communicated. I have to actually close it and say, here's where we are at. Here is what we have said to you.
mm.
This is the problem you want to solve. What can we do to next take it to an action, right? So
Yeah,
that used to be because I was an engineer. I was not a sales guy, right? The sales guy
yeah,
used to do his job. I used to do my job. But once you start bringing in that summarizing and closing and say, here's what you need to do next. Here is
yeah,
what do you want? Here is an offer. Can we do this together?
yeah,
It kind of took us on to a journey, right? Where we got from a conversation to a solution thinking to actually start doing an action.
yeah,
It's the only gap. So it took 4 months. 4 months was my first, I think, logo. It was in US. So I
yeah,
clearly understand. It was not easy though. Yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah,
and you have to figure out so it was very interesting because it was based. I understood the value of segmentation also. How do you actually choose somebody to actually go and pitch the right pitch, and how do you
target
know that the
audience. Yes,
problem they have? Yes,
yeah, yeah.
it's a classic
Yes.
marketing thing. It's interesting to see work in a software company and try and do that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's the effort versus value. So I worked in pre-sales as well a little bit. And again, I am also an engineer by qualification, and that's how I started my career as well. And we work in ones or zeros. That's how I started, right? It's either black or white. When it's gray area where probability of success is 50-50, for example, we like I'm talking about at the start of my career, right? We just tend to not kind of work on it back in those days. Like, no, this okay, I'm not clear, which way. There is certainty in black and there is certainty in white. And whenever there is that gray area, it's just a showstopper, kind of blocks used to block my mind. So No, that's a very good, yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, it's a very interesting journey of yours, and I think there's a lot to learn from it. There were challenges along the way. You started as in physics field. You then moved into, building a product, ERP, integration, EA, which is broad role. So what's one message you have for the next generation? If you need to, all that learning of 24 years, not that it's possible to put all of that in one sentence, but what is that one message you want to give to the coming generation?
I think I can speak from my point of view. I think you need to have an unbounded curiosity to understand the why.
Hmm.
And that's fundamental to the whole thread of my career. Whether it was my choice of physics as my graduation and post graduation, or whether it is about working in different fields. So I'd say if you look at my journey, I started off working in a product company, understanding why somebody builds a product, trying to build the product and see how it's built.
Hmm.
Go to customers as part of the services organization, experience the different domains. I've worked in pretty much almost every domain except financial services, I think, in my 24 years of career. See
Yeah,
how somebody implements something.
yeah,
And when you look at implementations, the curiosity kicks in. Why does somebody buy something from someone?
yeah,
And you go
yeah.
and figure out as part of a pre-sales journey,
Hmm.
how do you sell it to somebody so that you meet that expectation and demand?
Yeah,
That why was always driving me. And the second thing is, once he has adopted the solution,
hmm.
how does he realize value? That's where my journey of an EA kicked in 10 years
Yeah,
back. So it's like,
yeah,
all these guys implement. There's a guy who's the head of architecture comes and says, you guys have sold the solution. I need you to sit on this other side and make sure the value is realized.
yeah.
So there's that why I needed to be an EA. I sat there understanding how does an EA work with an organization,
Hmm.
ensuring the solutions that are being built are the perfect fit for why it's being built for and how it's
Yeah,
being deployed, and why how a business actually derives value. How does it justify the value of the spend it has done? For me, that was the rounding of saying, okay, I start from why you build something to how you implement it, why it is implemented in a certain way, to how it is adopted, and how is the business value realized.
yeah, yeah,
Today, I'm in a role where I now go and justify to the board saying, okay, here is how you do it. This is what we need to do in the next few years. This is the
yeah,
journey and why it is done for this particular reason. So that
yeah.
kind of rounds off my experience at this point in time. So
I
that seeking of why is the underlying thread everywhere.
I can't agree more to it. It's just, yeah, it's perfect. That's how I operate. That's how that curious mindset. Because technology is changing at a pace, right? And you'll be learning till the last day, right? So there's um, there's that. But if you if you don't have that curious mindset to learn, then it could be um, it, it could be a showstopper as well. I have seen in some cases, those are obviously extreme cases, but what I mean is you will either be stagnant in a role you are in because you lost that curiosity, or you'll be out of job, out of fashion, right? So now if we see that change, now pivoting to AI, right? So right, so if we see that technology change, now, I remember it used to excite me a lot when I was in engineering college working on a traffic light system where, again, back to Atmel 8086 microcontroller, 8085, I think microcontroller 80, yeah, so microcontroller,
85,
microprocessors,
85 and 86,
right?
yes.
So seeing that signal going 1, 0 and that little LEDs, green, red, and yellow turning, on or off from that to AI, where you just pass on a command saying, "Hey, what do you think of this?" It's you know it's a beautiful journey to see how the technology space has evolved. And I know you have been working in this space for a while now, especially the AI for your current organization or the previous. So. What's your take on it? What do you think where we are heading in terms of technology, especially looking at AI and how it can help the humanity or large corporations?
Yeah. It's probably the most pivotal point in time in either from an automation perspective or from a technology perspective we are in, right? So I remember I did my first. I mean, I've learned neural networks long back. I don't remember 25, 27. I've seen those first books when I was in school.
Yeah,
It used to be very complicated when they talk about back propagation in those days. It used to be whatever they used to call it, right? I think 5 years ago, when I looked at Andrew's course on deep learning, something sparked my mind saying, okay, this is evolving. It's evolving at a rapid pace. This was before the LLMs were released and transformers got released, right?
mm,
For me, it's that curiosity. Oh my God, we are getting somewhere, right? And you are able to realize cats and dogs on an image.
yeah,
What happens if you start realizing live objects, particularly on a video? And that set my thought process. And when I landed where I am today in my current organization, you see all that live and it's happening today, right?
definitely. Yeah,
It's so exciting. I remember when I started, so recently when we started looking at ChatGPT and using LLMs, running LLMs on my own laptop and starting messing around with that, with the limited GPU you had on your Mac machines. There were days where I couldn't sleep. My current general manager, he and I used to excitingly have the conversation about the next thing that was happening with the labs. I've not had that excitement in over 25 years. And
yeah,
I'll be very honest. Probably I had that excitement in 2000, 2001 when we had the earliest websites being created and all that, right?
yeah,
Because technology was new, we were experimenting with Java and all that.
yeah.
I sense that excitement in me,
Mm,
myself. I wish I was more stronger in Python and PyTorch and all that at this moment. Those are my skills I lack and I'm really struggling. But I'm trying to work with it. I don't have to, but that's a different thing. I see AI evolving really fast. I look at it from five buckets, and one of the buckets is really stretching the limits. You can see, which is text or what's called text AI. It's really stretching the limits from what
mm.
I could say. As of day before yesterday, I was just experimenting with ChatGPT OI, O1, or whatever they call that today. The amount
Okay.
of reasoning that is built in is mind-boggling.
Mm,
I saw a demo in one of the other podcasts where they were writing a cap table for a startup. Oh my God. If you provide just three inputs, it generates a full cap table with a series of prompts, each prompt being run by a separate agent orchestrated to actually deliver an outcome. And it's a full picture of a cap table, right? That was very surprising for me, which means there is a lot of reasoning that is really being built. It's all predictive, it's text based, but the reasoning component is what interests me
yeah.
because that is really pushing AI to its next generation of evolution.
Mm, mm.
Currently, I do a lot of work with not ChatGPT. I do a lot of work with Claude and I do a lot of work with Meta Llama 3. But I see certainly there is that. I mean, every LLM having its own phase of evolution, but some certainly have really got onto that edge of doing something different. And I'm really excited for where it's heading, but it's only one part of the puzzle. I
Correct.
look at
Yeah,
AI from five different perspectives. It's text, you have visual with video audio, which is where we are doing a lot of work as well today.
yeah,
Uh, there is interactive media. How do you use AI for that purpose? There is a lot of work happening in that space, which people learn, but they don't have to experience day in and day on because that's not what, at least not, it depends on where you are in your technology cycle and all that, right?
yeah, yeah,
The one I'm more excited about, which I hope my kid picks up, is the functional AI, robots, mechatronics, and
yeah,
using that with AI.
yeah.
I think that's an area which is really is going to hit that next generation of evolution as these things help
Mm.
something more functional. We call it functional AI, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
needs to. I think that is where the more excitement is. I'm looking. I hope my kids actually get onto that journey and explore how we
Yeah.
can use it in real live world in functional AI.
Mm.
Last, maybe an area which would probably have had more effect in my journey as an SAP consultant in the past would have been around analytical AI. Analytical AI is absolutely going to get disrupted. You know that. So your
Correct. Yeah.
analytics AI, it's going to really get disrupted,
It's
right?
already, yeah, started.
So when I was looking at LLMs in the context of SAP, um, the biggest thing which has an impact is how it actually works on a system of record,
Mm.
right? Instead of having to in the old SAP world, we used to actually build all these big data warehouse, which we even do today, right?
Yeah.
You have to have a Snowflake, you have to have a Databricks, bring all the data
Mm.
raw format. You did all that,
Yeah.
bring it raw, cleanse it, move it to the data warehouse, and then again work on it. Try to get an aggregated view in a three-dimensional view. Sometimes when you have a reasoning engine which is able to do that analytically through pure compute, I question, would we really have to do all this data movement that we run into today? The
Correct.
second aspect to it is the intelligence of these systems. Would that evolve to be able to do some of that on the fly on real-time eventing platforms, which not just have the event data, but have the context around the transactional context around these events, right? When you're able to do use platforms like Kinesis and Kafka, and you're able to marry that to some of these AI capabilities and be
Mm.
able to compute the inference that is required to
Yeah.
actually solve a business problem, I find it sometimes difficult to understand where is the database world really headed. Is that going to be disrupted as well? The second context is the system of record. All these multi-million dollar implementations with Salesforce and SAPs of the world, is that really going to matter as long as you're able to capture the information for you to run your business on a regular basis?
Yeah.
One of the things I believe which will get heavily disrupted is the way we actually build applications today and run all these service integrators to build all these large implementations and customizations.
Mm.
I think what's going to be more crucial is to capture the information about the business in a traditional or a non-traditional content, structured and unstructured. That's about it. Your ability to have reasonable LLMs and these large AIs having that sort of reasoning to make sense of the data is going to matter a lot. So then the question becomes, do we need to aggregate it in some format in a three-dimensional view to actually get sense out of it? Or you go instruct the LLM to go pick the data that is relevant for you to understand the business or deliver an outcome to a business, and it picks and churns and analyzes the data on the fly through sheer compute and get that outcome delivered, right?
Mm. Very interesting.
I believe that that disruption is on them.
This
And I've
question
seen some
is
of these, some
this
of,
is a
yeah,
this is a great question. It's out to the world, and I have seen some products already sparking on that analytical piece, analytical end. But the system of record question is a great question, and to your point, is it going to matter? Is it going to matter that we have a multi-million billion dollar system implementation project and or we just get someone to capture it in Word document and throw it into a data world which AI is able to understand and stitch it together. So
exactly.
it's
So
really, really great question. Yeah.
it's interesting. I think what's going to matter ultimately, end of the day, is understanding the domain
Mm.
to be able to ask the right questions and to get
Correct.
the right.
Yeah.
So your business understanding of the domain still has to matter because you can't expect the LLMs to understand everything about everything. I think the LLMs will have specializations because they're only good as the training data that they are relying on. They
Correct.
will get the wider world, the information that is there, the LLMs will be good at. But the domain that your business runs on, as long as you have edge and you have innovations that you have built to actually deliver outcomes, and that data is unique to you as a business, only then you have that edge, right? Otherwise, you don't
Yeah.
have that edge. The second thing to it is is I think the disruption is going to really cut through some of these traditional product vendors, the old SAPs and Salesforce of the world. I believe they will get disrupted because they have the application knowledge, they have the functional parallel process knowledge of, okay, these domains work with these processes. They're all standard content. That
Correct.
edge and uniqueness is all the custom solutions that have been built in the individual businesses, which deliver
Mm.
that outcome for the businesses.
Yeah.
They don't have that. They don't have the data underlying as well. Because
Yeah.
not many of these, except for Salesforce, which has the cloud, it runs on the cloud. But I would question whether they have actually access the data on which they can run their LLMs. I think they're trying to do that with all their Einsteins of the world to say
Yeah.
they will have access to your data, we will improve your LLMs. The question itself is, I don't believe they have an intrinsic understanding how the data really helps a particular business. I think it still comes down to the analysts who actually generate the views today. I think when you crack that, somebody who cracks that, right, who
Yeah.
uses that algorithm to actually generate that edge views for these businesses and is able to also create a system of record which doesn't need four different vendors to give me a finance, a GL, a Salesforce CRM, and all that.
Yeah.
You have disruptions happening in the market because
Mm.
everything becomes commodity then. I think the commodity is coming from the hardware and the sort of complex LLMs that are getting built by all these metas of the world.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting. But the question is whether there'll be one LLM to rule all, or is it going to be four different LLMs that we're going to use to do what we need to do? We don't know,
Yeah.
right? I currently use four LLMs today. I use Perplexity for my general understanding of any domain of space because it gives me a lot of context, sourced references, less hallucinations.
Right.
Um, if I go and say, okay, I need to draw this for me, you draw this workflow for me. How does, for instance, I'm working in a transformation today
Yeah.
and I don't understand the domain very well. It's not a domain my organization is very familiar because it's a new business we're getting into. How do
Yeah.
you draw this in and out? Claude gives me that, and it gives me a full workflow. I can give it a hypothetical question. Say, my organization wants to work with partner to do this particular job, and I need to know the data flows. How does that organizational context fit in? What do I need to have? If I'm having three systems, these are
Yeah.
my systems of cards here. This is the analytical system I use. What information flows from which system to which system? How do you build this? Claude throws it out for me, right? As an architect, I'm getting disrupted as well. What
Mm.
I would take 4 hours to deliver, I can actually take 15 minutes because I have a boilerplate to work on. Then I can actually work with it. I get more productive, but I imagine it learns in the process because I'm asking questions to say, but this is not the way an analytical system would work. Is that something else? This is not the way a billing system would work. Do you
Yeah.
want to use payments in a certain way? It understands, it responds more contextual, right? I think we are also helping LLMs in the process.
Yeah.
I believe there is a lot of productivity improvement that I'm getting out of how I'm working with AI at this moment. And it's a
Absolutely.
sort of thing I wouldn't have realized 15 years back. I can
I
say
do
this
the
way.
same thing. I would say, I mean, I'm using it as a companion or as a colleague. To bounce ideas off. It's a digital colleague sitting out there on the internet, and I just throw random questions. Or for fun, we do throw in a stupid curveball to the LLM here and there as well.
Yeah.
I haven't used the one. Is it cloud? Is it K?
Okay, CLAUDE.ai.
Uh,
It's from
yeah,
Anthropic. I think
yeah.
it's available there. It's
I
a
haven't
beta.
used that,
Yeah.
but I used the other one. Yeah, so mostly I use the language one, and yeah, it's very interesting. I was reading through this CTO McKinsey report on AI,
Mm.
and they were talking about productivity, especially, that's what we are talking about here as well. And they were talking about this, downturn because of COVID, and
Mm.
how evolution in technology, especially AI, can bring economy back on track. Um, yeah, so it's really interesting, if everyone and anyone, within the, IT or non-IT space who is impacted by technology can utilize it to increase productivity, then, it will have a wider impact. Yeah,
It's
very
not
interesting.
just productivity. It's not just productivity, right? Productivity is one of the outcomes,
One
right?
of
The
them.
question
Yeah.
itself is I was looking at one of the startup vendors who were startup VCs who were talking about how the team sizes and the investments they make in actually getting to the first MVP for them to release a product is
Mm,
shortening. It used to be a certain number, which is 10x what they spend now with AI now coming into the picture from code generation and trying
mm,
to build MVP for them to get a first product out to deliver to a customer to go start testing where the interest levels are. That's shortening, which means you're fail fast, fail fail first, fail fast, right? So you do that at much lesser cost with a very smaller team, which means you're able to experiment and iterate faster. It
correct.
never used to happen before because things used to be much more difficult, right? You had to
Yes.
have the right set of skills in the team. If
Yeah.
you don't have a database guy in the team, you have to go get a database guy. You have to somebody with a particular skill set. You don't need that
Right.
anymore.
And you
I
don't.
can go and say, this is the outcome. I need this in this particular type of code. I want a deployable code in a particular manner. It gives it out for you. Then you just figure out how you, even the deployment thing is being all automated, right?
Yeah.
So great tools out there. Where there is going to be disruption, Deep, is the second part is how do you say there are two things. One is how do you build stuff? How do you manage stuff ongoing? How do you remove the inefficiencies in the way the systems are built today? That is where a big disruption will happen. We have app management tools. We all have app monitoring tools.
Yeah.
Imagine have tools there which are sitting there listening as agents, looking at how the systems are talking together today, maybe on a weekly basis, monthly basis, regular basis. Then they churn out a view of where your inefficiencies are, right?
Yeah.
How your systems are struggling because of the workflow and throughput that two systems are talking to each other,
Yeah.
the chatter that is happening. Then you can go and efficiently manage those workloads proactively rather than being reactive. That's in the other world, right? In the app management space. How do
Correct.
you
Yeah.
monitor and manage your environment? It's going to go for a complete disruption. And imagine that all that is knowledge, right? And if you are an organization which is investing in agents which can understand this and use it in a business, can you build something more innovative, more optimized than some of these traditional SIs and vendors out there? That's ripe for disruption as well, right? So
Yeah.
I was looking at Viva, right? Viva is a Salesforce CRM. It's actually a pharma domain CRM, which was
Mm,
built on Salesforce Cloud. Salesforce says it does everything for every business. That was now it's a standalone company worth 20 billion. If Salesforce could do everything, but today you have Salesforce, a platform built on top of Salesforce, which is 20 billion worth, which means Salesforce is not doing everything for you, right? As a
yeah.
CRM.
Yeah.
Here is an opportunity, right? So if you
Yes.
understand your domain very well, you are able to figure out those gaps which a traditional flat I do everything all vendor can do. You
Yeah.
could find issues there only your business can, right?
Yeah.
You know, you and I used to work, or this I'm working still at a business which is very bit of a monopoly, right? So there
Yeah.
could be a lot of opportunities here. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. I remember, when I was working in a utility firm, um, I I built a database because I always had a startup mindset, that
Mm,
entrepreneur mindset. And functionally, I understood, how to put things together, but I needed someone who can help me kind of stitch it together,
mm,
right? And there were functional pieces I never got exposure to in the utility domain. So I wanted one of my friends to come with me and, build this together. So I spoke to this chap and he said, sounds like an interesting idea, but he had other commitments, so we couldn't start. Now, if you look at, that AI space, as you said, you can accelerate, not just that. If you don't have that helping hand and there is that gap, you can tap onto AI to, fill in that gap as well. And you can experiment, innovate at a speed. Um, I also um, wrote a blog a few years
mm,
ago, and it kind of talks about a little bit about the domain we both, work or you
mm,
still working in.
mm,
It was called Digital um, Road, The Journey to the Future. And I think it was also in one of the Hollywood movies as well, where, we are in a world where flying cars are, not too far from reality now, as in, on the road, I can't say, but on the digital road or in the air, right? So how do you reserve? So let's say if I put a navigation from here to office, how do you reserve that space that the car is going to intersect from this place at 9:26, right? And therefore no other car should be in that digital or that, space.
right. Yeah.
So I think all of that is, when you have the compute, when you have the artificial intelligence available to you,
Mm,
when you can have, that air traffic managed by an AI,
mm,
yeah, it is possible. It is about accelerating towards that goal, which we initially thought maybe 20 years away. It could be just 5 years away now. I think
yeah.
yeah, I think we're definitely going towards that. Yeah, very interesting, very interesting. And in, hmm,
While we think about all these possibilities, it's also about thinking about constraints which probably will limit us from doing that today, right? It needs enormous compute, it needs enormous power supply to enable all this. We don't have them in any of the countries today to actually make that happen. It's
yes,
something which will happen in the next 20 years. The way I see the whole boom, even in the stock market with Nvidia and all that, it's like the Y2K boom, right? After Y2K, there was the dot com boom where everybody had a dot com, they made money, everybody piled in money to get some dot com website to generate money in multiples. I think we are in that journey. I have not seen anybody other than Nvidia make money at the moment. So the question itself is, I believe this will go into a bust. The technology is there, but the maturity to make something more viable happen will take another 5 to 10 years at least. So
hmm,
we are in that early stage cycle of going through that stage of excitement. It'll go into disillusionment. You remember the Gartner's corner? We'll
yeah,
get
yeah,
into that disillusionment. But those organizations that actually survive that bust and come out of that cycle, right? They are the ones which will be that next Amazons of the world
hmm,
and whichever dot coms of the world, right? That will be very interesting, and I'm looking forward. I'm not too excited. I'm excited by the technology, but not everything that is happening around it.
yeah,
Half of that is sounds to me like snake oil. I'll be very
yes,
honest. I think it'll go through that dissolution. I'm waiting for that next crash where most of these companies get wiped out and something more sensible and sane evolves. And
yeah,
that's when I think boom will really happen. At the moment, I think it's all. I think people are also waiting for it. I think people have seen a couple of these cycles, and I think it will evolve.
yeah.
I don't think it'll continue like what we are having at this moment. Yeah.
I agree. Actually, I remember, we were talking about those Pentium 3, Pentium 4 processors before, and I used to have a software on it called Dragon Speech.
Mm.
And I could ask the software to open Word, and it'll open the Word document without me touching the computer. And that was a very fancy thing in, early 2000.
Yes.
And back then, I think, to your point, we were constrained by the computer we had available to us. We had the technology available to us, which could understand human language and do things on your behalf. But it took us some time to get there. Where now, I remember when I was working for a tier one utility firm here in Australia, um, we decoded a conversation between two individuals, converted it into a text, ran some sentiment analysis on top of it, and we could tell that the customer was upset or not. Was it a positive sentiment? Was it a negative sentiment? And then stitch that to the rest of the communication with the customer, understand if it's a high value customer, and bring that case up the chain to the top,
Mm.
right? So
Mm.
that's, text mining to the next level,
Mm.
including that voice to text conversion. And that wasn't possible when we had Pentium 3. It took us
Yes.
years to get there. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a journey. There are some pillars, some foundation pillars which needs to be in place Yeah. Mm.
There's a lot. Even say, think about the challenges, right? People talk about businesses using AI to really leverage how they scale their businesses,
Mm.
and they will start using it to have two organizations talk to each other as well, right? So you
Yeah.
might not be talking to a person at the other end. It may not be even a system. It can be just a pure AI run agent.
Mm.
The question is, how do you trust the agent? How do you secure the communication, not just the communication, the context, the data that you're exchanging? How do you trust the other agent? That's an interesting space for. I mean, so I spoke about functional AI earlier, where
Mm.
I'm excited for my kids to work. If I tell them blindly saying if there is an area you want to really pick a job, cybersecurity and AI security, right? That's the area probably I will ask him to go and think about, right? Because
Yeah.
it's ripe for disruption. How do you build systems which are self-learning, self-thinking, can deal between two organizations, right? I
Yeah.
think organizations have to think through how they are going to have these systems talk to each other, right,
Yeah.
across
Yeah.
boundaries. There's a lot of area. That's a lot of area for disruption as well. So I think those are opportunities. If I was talking to a cabbie who was driving me from Sydney Airport to my home, and this guy is a Pakistani who's done his master's in IT systems. And this guy was driving a cab, and I asked him, "Why are you driving a cab? You've done this. Where did you get a job?" He says, "I didn't know which one because they've taught us everything. They didn't tell me which one is right for disruption for me to get into a job. I'm not getting a job." I said, "Go get a certificate. This is the area you want to go. And it's cybersecurity. You need to
Yeah.
understand this. Start with a small job. Learn about this. This area is right for disruption. Then you focus on it, build your technology skills around this area.
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be people which will come and offer you a job. Why do you struggle like this?" Right?
Yeah.
I would give that advice to my kid. And I believe the opportunity is there. And there is a lot of opportunity. Data has an opportunity. Where I'm a bit circumspect is all the traditional application work we used to do. That's all it's going to be get disrupted. And you're not going to
Yeah.
have developers in India doing all this because
Yeah.
it's going to be, there will be people there, but it'll be all AI as a teammate, right? So it's going to be, instead of 15-member teams doing a project, will be 3 or 4 member teams with a
Mm.
set of
Mm.
AI which do their own job, and then somebody orchestrates and assembles this, right? So I think all that will get disrupted in the future. That's for sure. I'm not
Yeah.
asking my
Yeah.
son to
Not.
code in Python. I'll learn Python for the sake of becoming an application developer anymore. I think that
Yeah.
old days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Interesting. So yeah, I know. I see where we're going. As in, IT professional, the career change, and you know. But an interesting question which comes to my mind is, um, and something which I wrote a blog about a while ago, is the kill switch. And it's not something I invented. It's something I actually came across in one of the AI TV show where they were talking about AI kind of taken over the world, right? So I'm not talking about the negatives. So if you put the negatives on the side and um, think about for a minute that it has matured to an extent
Mm.
which we think that it's able to learn itself um, from events and information it has exposure to, then how do we draw the boundary, right? What's that kill switch? So let's say it's working, it's there, and it's interconnected, right? And most of it is driven by AI-driven integration, AI-driven, functional aspects of things, and the data it has access to. Now, the security part you spoke about. So let's say it's all secure, but somehow there is a breach by AI into that security world, right? So when you think about it, how do you see that working or operating, or like how do we make sure that the human still has a say in it?
Uh, I think we have to start with a set of principles around what we
Hmm.
want. The problem is humans are conflicted by nature. No two humans sees uh, a fact as a fact. Two people look at it with their own opinions, with their own biases.
Hmm.
So I believe it comes down to I don't believe there is a easy solution. I can give you a answer to your kill switch problem. That's
Mm.
easy. I believe you need to turn off the switch which actually powers these devices, which is the power, right? If you have a control over the power which powers these devices and these systems, you have an ability. So as long as you have, let's take the most easiest way, is you need these big either nuclear or thermal power stations that actually have to be powering the transmission and distribution of these power supply to all these data centers and the devices which power get powered from. We could easily switch them off, get back to the old world, reset everything, and start over again. That's the way I would imagine you would solve this
Yeah.
problem, right?
Mhm.
That's your kill switch.
Yeah.
Uh, unless you have somebody smart like Elon Musk who just says, okay, let's have all these robots on the killer robots on the road with their own solar panels, then you're messed up either way, right? Because your power is coming from the sun, you have no control over it. But as long as they need to go back and charge themselves from some socket, you have
Yeah.
control over how they get charged, which is the power supply. That's your kill switch. If you
Yeah.
don't give them, you know how to then restart over.
Yeah.
Think of it as your virus. Your power is also your virus, right? The
Yeah.
devices, as long as they don't get charged, that's your kill switch.
Yeah.
But I struggle with the
I was
principle.
thinking more along the lines of a soft kill switch. So, for example, let's say I'm making up an organization here, right? So let's say there might be already one, right? So the AI ethics of the world, whatever that organization is, who looks into the code and say, hey, you got to add this kill switch, which is a soft kill switch in your AI program of code, and we can turn it off if we want at any point in time. And I think uh, I feel like that is required. Um,
Maybe the who controls that kill switch matters, and how that they have the genius
that's
that
another point. Yes.
I,
Yeah.
I imagine it'll be like that. Lord of the Rings. I'm seeing the series on Netflix, right? Isildur is the guy who actually he could have killed Sauron. He could have never let the rings progress to the second Lord of the Rings and that eventual all the things that happen in the second world, right? The first time he had access to the ring, he cut off Sauron's hand. He had the ring. He could have destroyed the ring. He didn't do it. The problem is that, right?
Mm.
Is when you have that ring, it's absolute power and it corrupts you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The question is who will apply, right?
Yes.
When you think about these, will so it becomes a question: is it the CEO of that company, or is it the chief security of the officer of the company who holds the power?
Mm.
Who will
Yeah.
apply?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
chief security officer has the power, but he will willingly apply. But will they give that power to him? Because the CEO of the company wants this company to thrive and survive, right?
Yeah.
Will he
Yeah.
do it? He's the usual door of the world. So
Yeah.
think about it. It's not easy. It's not
It's not
easy.
easy. Yeah. But I think the question, yeah, so what you're saying is, yes, it needs to be done. There needs to be a way. If I talk about, for example, chain reactions, nuclear chain reaction, you need those cadmium bars to stop the reaction. So you need to have some sort of a control over it. But who controls matters, Yeah. So understand. Yeah. So I think that's a very good point. Now we don't have enough time left. We only got roughly 8 minutes left. So ये part मैं काट दूंगा, by the way. So if we have to, if I may just summarize, we spoke about your journey, we spoke about various use cases on AI. Um, we had a conversation around that curious mindset, which is the key for being successful. We talked a bit about evolution of AI and where we think and roughly how long we think it's going to take us to get there. We spoke about some of the challenges in the AI space as well. So that domain knowledge you spoke about, that gap we can fill. I think very interesting conversation. Is there anything else, Shri, you would like to say to our viewers?
Uh, I think we are at the second disruption in the IT world. I think
Mm.
this is an opportunity. If you are somebody who is really looking to say, okay, how do I play a part in this disruption? How do I achieve an objective, whether it's about progressing your career or it's about doing something interesting? I believe that time is now. And
Yeah.
you don't have to wait for somebody to tell you. A lot of this is open source out there. You don't have to wait for ChatGPT to evolve to do some of this. Just use Meta LLM. I run my LLMs on my laptop. If I have to learn something and it's got to be something that I have to do at my own pace, and I cannot share data with the outside world, I run it on my laptop. You can do it yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I think the technology is there. The space to create all that for yourself, your ability to innovate is there. It's all about us applying and
Applying.
having that curiosity to find out how do I do it? How do I use these tools? It's about knowing how to use the tools that will matter in the new world. How to
Yeah.
use AI as your productivity arm to extend your capabilities beyond what you're physically and mentally capable of is going
Yeah.
to matter. How you're
Yeah.
successful. And I would say if somebody is not looking at AI seriously, right, you're up for a disruption. So you better get onto the bank journey. Today, I'll give an example. My average, so I have a weekly productivity report I have to submit to my boss. It's the worst thing. So there's what is called as an HBDI indicator, which tells you who you are as a person. I'm not what is called as a green person. A green person is somebody who's methodical, systematic, and all that, right?
Mm.
I use AI today to make myself very systematic,
Yeah.
and it works. And it's about if I'm not somebody, how do I ensure I'm a better person? AI can help you that. So
Yeah.
I use Copilot. And if I have to prepare a system report, I don't struggle with it. I can just go to Copilot and say, pick all the presentations, all the meetings I have done, everything I have done in this week, summarize to me in four quadrants in terms of people, stakeholder, work I have done. Give me a summary report. It gives me a summary report. I take 2 minutes to edit it. I submit it. Right?
Yeah.
That's a productivity thing. It took
Yeah.
me 1 hour and a lot of energy, which I don't have to actually create it because I hate doing that.
Yeah.
AI does it for me. That's a productivity improvement. I
That's
don't have to waste 2 hours there, right?
yeah.
So there are a lot of things you could do like that, right?
Yeah.
Learning about new tools, learning about new domains,
Yeah.
learning about the next idea, which could actually be a business for you, right?
Yeah.
Simple things. And meaning me and I are thinking about what's the next thing that we can do together to create our own startup firm, right? So
That's right.
we are
Yeah.
working on it. And the question is, you can learn, you can really make it part of your brain that you don't have, the knowledge that you don't have.
Mm.
Earlier, it used to be Google search. It had to
Yeah.
be descriptive and prescriptive. Now it's not anymore. You have AI
Mm.
giving it, use the right tools. I would recommend Perplexity for and Claude. They are amazing tools at this
Mm.
moment in time. They really extend your knowledge.
That's
And
correct.
I'm really excited for my kids and my kids as to what they're going to do. It's
Mm.
just a
Mm.
I'm
One. No,
and it's
that's
sad. It's sad we're not going to live through all those ages to see all this happen. I'm
what was
excited
that
for it.
movie, that Hollywood movie where this guy actually put his quantum, what is it called? Quantum? Where, or Transcendence, I think it's called
Uh,
Transcendence,
yeah,
where he
I can
actually
only.
transferred his consciousness into the computer and he lived
Yes, yes,
forever,
yes.
right?
That's one of the.
Anyhow, so I think to your point, I think even the communication which we do today through emails and chats and whatnot, that's going to disappear. So the marketing domain is going to change. So that's the probably another question to the world, right? Who's watching this video? What does it mean for emails? What does it mean for the marketing department? Am I actually going to, I may actually, let's say, even if the email exists in the next, few years, I might just ask my virtual assistant who's AI based, is there any meaningful email that I have? Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
That's
See, here's the thing. You're seeing a convergence of channels, right? Text, visual, AI. You saw the AR glasses that Meta released yesterday. Have you seen
yeah.
that?
No, I haven't
It's
yet.
a convergence. You
Yeah.
can talk to it, right? You can talk to it. It basically gives you all the information that you need in a context. The question is, how will it work? Is that the only channel? I don't believe so. But you're looking at an emergence of a device in the future, which is going to be that confluence, right?
Yeah.
Is it a wearable? We don't know. I'm sure there is some bright mind which is working on it. I don't believe we'll be sitting and typing all this in the next 5, 10 years. I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of convenience of I say something, it interprets and says, this is the information you need. You see it somewhere on some device, which is going to be that amazing device that you're going to work. I don't
Mm.
think it'll be the laptop. I think the days of the keyboard and mouse will be long gone. It's going to be
Yeah.
conversational. It's going to be media responding to you.
Yeah.
What's going to be important is how you think. How do you ensure that despite all the distractions you have, you focus on
Mm.
what you need to achieve?
Mm.
That's going to be the challenge, in my opinion. It's more our own challenges with our own brain to do what we
Mm.
need rather than get distracted by all the stuff that is around us.
Mm.
That's going to be challenging. But I think you're going to see channels. So when somebody says I'm marketing channel, these are my channel for a website, for my call center, and my SMS and email. I
Yeah.
don't believe that's what you need to be doing
Yeah.
10
Yeah.
years. Yeah. Yes.
Beautiful.
For now.
Beautiful. A lot of questions out there to the viewers. Very interesting conversation. We're running out of time. I wish we had more time. Um, but thank you very much, Ray.
Welcome.
Really, really great to have you. And I look forward to making more videos with you to
Thank
share
you.
our journey, our knowledge with the coming generation, and also ask some questions to the smart people out there, get their opinion and learn from their experience as well. So
So
thank you, Sri.
thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity, mate. It's an opportunity for me to share and have a long chat with you. I've not had a 1 hour chat with you unless it was a team conversation.
That's
So
right.
it was
Yeah,
good one-on-one with you. Look forward
absolutely.
to
Yeah,
more conversations in the future. Thank you very much.
absolutely. Thanks, Sri. Good to
Yeah.
chat. Cheers, Mike. Bye.
Thanks, man. Yeah.